replied that there was a good reason for this, because it would help their guild solve problems in wandering. He said that Simon would do it. The guy in the hood was not very happy about it, because he didn't want to go anywhere. The red-haired girl said that he was the most secretive of them, it would be safer that way. They were very far from the capital. Simone said that in any case, he got a little bored here and agreed to be that way. Yun, Delano and Ribe were sitting in a cafe, at an outdoor table. They were discussing the trials of the adventurer. Ribe said that this is necessary in order to get a license. The main character was of the human race. The age of the character was about 16 years old. Although in reality he was 21 years old, his class was a spearman. Ribe tried to bring Yun up to speed and told him to open the character's window so that he could read the information. Yun said he didn't want to do it in front of everyone because it was personal. Riberia was also a human race, with a teenage character and a hermit class. Ribe told the guy that no one else would be able to see what was written there, because the system specifically hides everything. She also said that in any case, the license will be in his favor. Thanks to it he will be able to visit any tavern for free. And he will also have access to information only for members of the Adventurers Guild. And it will also be easier to find his party. This will not make the quests more difficult, but the reward for them will increase. She also thought about it, because it's not so easy to get it. After failing the tests, you can assume that time was wasted. She heard that you can assemble a team and pass this test as a group. Delano offered to try to go through it together, reminding her of the first meeting, where he said that he wanted to pass this test. He would gladly help her, because he doesn't really care about the reward, he just needs information more. Besides, Yun was with them now, and the three of them should definitely succeed. Delano was of the Elven race, with a character age over 20 years and an archer class. Yun said that he initially wanted to pass this test, but now with the two of them, he was sure that he would fail, offering to pass separately. The girl laughed and said that thanks to her, he learned that others cannot see his character's windows, so she is sure that he does not know anything. Yun covered his face with his hands in shame, which looked pretty cute. The guys decided to go to a clothing store, where they dressed Delano. Why did you go to the Adventurers Guild? The girl took a piece of paper on which it was written that only 10 people had passed the previous tests. She thought it should be difficult, because so many people participate. She also said that it was some kind of madness and suggested splitting up by submitting applications and meeting at the front entrance. Delano agreed and said that he had seen an ice cream shop outside and offered to buy it for them, to which the guys refused and told him not to go anywhere. The guys filled out the bronchitis and gave them. They were told that the first test would be in 3 days, on the 7th, at the South Square Wave Plaza, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They were told not to be late, otherwise they would be disqualified. Ribe gave the guys money for ice cream and told them to wait at the entrance to the square. The guys were eating ice cream and talking. Delano said that Yun is poorly oriented in this world, asking if he knows that the main goal of the game is to defeat the Demon King, and also that you can advance your class. Yun said that, but he knows about it in general terms, while thinking that he will definitely find out about everything else. Delano went on to say that there is a core combination mechanic in this game. This process is called class promotion. Each class has basic skills. When a character improves his class, he gets new ones. The advantage is always with the one whose class is higher, even if the characters have the same level. He drew Yuna with a stick on the ground what the core looks like, saying that they are very rare and difficult to obtain. He also said that there are intra-class levels and took as an example the class of Yuna. A spearman, depending on which cores he combined, will be able to become a guardian or a swordsman, provided that he has a second class level. Being a spearman, a character can immediately improve his class to a third-level spearman. But even if the characters have a lot of these cores, this does not mean his superiority, but it is very good when they are, and if they are not, it does not matter, although it is not always the case, but sometimes you can stay at the first level of the class, even if the character has these cores. Ribe came running to them and started scolding them for wandering around here, because she said to wait for her in the square. Delano asked for forgiveness, justifying himself by simply following Yun, although Yun himself claimed to have followed him. The guys got confused, and Ribe resigned herself and said it didn't matter anymore. 10th chapter. 3 days later, on the 7th, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the guys were at the Wave Plaza South Square. There were a lot of people there. A girl came to the square, saying 4 words: strength, wisdom, insight and devotion. Then the square turned into a forest. The girl said that she wanted to express her gratitude to everyone for taking part in the trial of the Arcana adventurers. People around were surprised at how everything turned into a forest. The girl continued to say that the test will take place in 2 stages. Only those who have passed them both will be considered full-fledged adventurers of this kingdom, and it is here that the first stage will take place. She is the head of the Adventurers Guild, one of the 7 kings of the Arcana. Her name was Shell. This girl, as an instructor of the first stage, should familiarize everyone with the rules, so she got down to business, saying that the first test is a team. 4 randomly selected players are determined into a team based on their characteristics. Ribe was not happy to hear the news. The girl continued to tell that at the beginning of the test, each team has 10 points. Those teams that earn over 100 points will move on to the next stage. This test will last exactly 3 hours. Points can be earned by killing monsters or hunting for treasures hidden in the forest. Then she said that the health points of the participants and monsters would be visible during the battles. All the conditions were carefully agreed with the diapers. If the player's health bar reaches 0, or one of the participants decides to leave the test, in both cases they will be teleported out of the test area, and the test itself will be considered failed. Shell also decided to reassure the participants by saying that in reality nothing will happen to people, so they don't have to worry about it. Then she repeated that this stage is a team stage, so if one of the team members fails the test, the whole team will be disqualified. And after defeating another team in a duel, the winners will take all the points of the defeated team for themselves. Yun thought in fright, because despite the fact that no one in reality would suffer, he did not want to kill other players. He was worried. Shell continued to talk and mention the top 3 teams that will be displayed on the scoreboard. Their location and the number of points will be visible to everyone, and the scoreboard itself will hang in the sky above them. Then she said to show everyone what they are capable of and wished them good luck. All participants were teleported and divided into teams. Yun and Delano were on the same team, with 2 more with them. Delano greeted Yun, to which he replied that there was no need to greet him. They already know each other, and a few minutes ago they were standing next to each other. Yun turned to the guy and the girl standing next to him. He decided that they needed to introduce themselves first, and then move on to the action plan, telling Delano to do it first. Delano introduced himself, telling about his 84th level, and that he was a 3rd-class archer. Then he wanted to tell about the skills, but the blonde interrupted him, saying that there would be another stage, so they should not tell all the information about himself. He had already told enough, then called himself Beta. He was a knight 2nd class. Then the girl decided to introduce herself. Her name was Sarah. She is a priestess of the 3rd class. Yun said that he was a 1st-class spearman and the guys should keep an eye on him, and also believed that they were lucky since the team could work both at short and long distances, then suggested starting a monster hunt. The team set off. Yun noticed that Delano was not himself from the beginning of the test and decided that it was Ribe's absence, because she was on another team. Delano said that's one of the reasons. The guy did not have time to name another reason as everyone heard a strange sound, thinking that it was an earthquake. Everyone looked at the sky. There was a table where it was indicated that some team scored 80 points. Ribe was in this team. Beta, looking at the table, said that in that team one of the rated players, Silver Crow, from a fairly well-known guild. The guy was surprised that even such players participate in this test. Sarah understood which guild they were talking about, considering that they were in trouble and they needed to try to avoid them, because if there was a rating player in that team, he could get them and they would be covered. They went further through the forest. Sarah called Yun a boy and a redhead, worried that he was lagging behind, and said that she could hunt monsters herself, feeling that one was already nearby. After that, they saw a huge dinosaur. The girl had never seen such monsters before and decided that since they had caught him, they should hunt him, telling the redhead to be careful. Beta ran the fastest to the monster, jumping high. He decided to check how strong the dinosaur's skull was and swinging his sword flew at him. 11th chapter. The team fought hard with the monster, surprised that this Hulk was moving very fast. Apparently simple ones, but it would not be enough for him. Beta hit the monster hard, but didn't even scratch it. Then the monster hit the guy and he flew away. Delano blinded the dinosaur on his own. Sarah told the blonde to find a vulnerable spot in the monster and hit him on it. Beta thought for a long time where this place could be and realized that it was the neck, striking a blow. The monster was defeated. The girl told the guy that it was a good job and he would make a great knight, also saying that the elf was also good because he did not let the monster see them. Everyone did a great job. Yun decided to look at the table, because they should have been given points. Only 2 were awarded. The guys were very surprised because they killed such a big monster and got so few points. The guys began to reflect that it took them half an hour to find the monster and another 5 or 10 minutes for him himself. At this rate it would be difficult for them to earn 50 points for the remaining time. The beta point said that the initial points of the teams are worth 5 such monsters and it will be more profitable to hunt other teams, thinking that the meaning of the task is to kill the players. After that, they were attacked by another dinosaur. Beta began to fight back. Then a few more dinosaurs appeared. The guys were lucky, because the points themselves came to them. Sarah told the redhead to be careful because there were more and more monsters. The guys started fighting with all the monsters that were approaching them. They decided to gather in one pile in order to be at least a little safe. Then another team came up to them. The man said that he had already read their defense and decided that it would be easy to cope with them. He did not know why they crowded together, but said that their team would get a lot of experience for them. Hume said that they crowded together because it would make it easier to cover them. Then the guy decided that in this situation this is the best thing he can do for his team and took his spear. 12th chapter. Yun speared Beta, who fell to his knees. The man from the other team was very scared and decided that the guy was crazy because he betrayed his teammate. The girl from his team decided that he just didn't want them to get experience points so much that he decided to hand over his own team. But after looking at the beta, she realized that he was still breathing and they had a chance by throwing weapons at the players. But in this game, each player and NPC has their own special skill. Beta rose into the air and lit up, then saying that Yun had not gone mad, but only activated his skill. The man looked at the guy and realized that he not only remained alive, but also became stronger. Yun's skill was the splendor of the tyrant. Early beta he activated his skill. He did not dare to apply it for a long time, because he had never used it before. When activating this skill, the player imposes a tyrant power buff on a friendly player, who receives a short-term enhancement of characteristics. The player does not receive any gain at the same time. The guy from the enemy's team decided that there was nothing unusual in this, so it's easy to deal with them, because thanks to his skill, monsters do not react to them, so they will help them. Beta smiled, and the dinosaur stood next to him and glared at the enemy team. The guy didn't understand what was going on, but decided Beta had tamed him. Beta took this skill from Shell, the Knight of Redemption. It was a taming skill, which includes the ability to lure any monster to your side. After all, Beta's skill was the soul vessel, which allowed him to take a part of another player's soul when crossing views. When this skill is activated by a player, the other player's abilities become available for use. The level of skills taken away depends on the level of the player who used the ability, while the player adopts the manner of speech of the player whose skills he took. Before the start of the test, he and Shell met eyes, and he took her skill for himself. Beta reported that the points of the enemies would be very useful to them and said that it was time to retaliate. They won by earning 20 points, deciding that they had apparently beaten the other team before. The guys started talking about how it was a very good job. Yun thanked Delano for covering them up. Yun also said that he immediately realized that they would be attacked, because, firstly, it seemed strange to him that dinosaurs suddenly crowded around them, and secondly, when Beta attacked the first dinosaur, he had a health bar, and the rest of the dinosaurs who came up later already had it. This meant that someone had attacked them before them, and the dinosaurs' lives were almost complete. From that moment, the guy realized that something was wrong here. Those people definitely wanted to earn points by killing other players. They wanted their team to crowd together and wait for the critical moment they would attack, because in order to get points they had to kill themselves. Yun said that he had been thinking for a long time about who to use his skill on and remembered about Beta, because when he asked what skills he had, he told him about taming. Sarah said that it makes sense not to talk about your skills, but the guy got carried away and told everything. She asked Beta about the skill that allows him to apply the skill of another player. Beta said that there are certain conventions in this and he did not want to talk about a skill that he could not apply. With his level it was impossible to tame such large monsters. However, thanks to Yun, he was able to do it. The guy ran up to the main character and began to beg to work together. He really wanted to be his partner, even if they fail this test. Yun asked if the poke he gave him hurt when he used the skill, because when he did it, he saw blood. The guy replied that he was in a lot of pain, so much pain that he was ready to scream in agony, but at the same time he was very happy, and asked to give more buffs. Delano said that they are running out of time and he is not sure that they will be able to earn the right amount of points so quickly. Beta said he had an offer to discuss an attack plan. Yun thought about the fact that when a task appears that he cannot solve, he begins to think carefully about the conditions. The other team got 80 points in the first minutes of the game. They were immediately given these points. At that moment the guys did not know how many points they were given for defeating monsters, and decided that they could not earn these points right away. He kept thinking about how they were able to earn them so quickly, sorting through the options, because in order to score such a large number of points, you need to cope with 8 teams at once, or kill 40 monsters. He decided that maybe those guys are very strong players or it's just luck that helped them. He thought about the word luck, remembering what qualities the instructor spoke about. The first words of the instructor were strength, wisdom, insight, dedication. There was no word about luck. In other words, the same conditions were set for all players, so in addition to hunting monsters and killing other players, there must be another way to earn points. To solve this problem, you first need to understand what the problem is. Then the guy told everyone that this is not just a test of hunters. Although they still have to hunt to earn points, they should do what this test was originally intended for, or rather treasure hunting. 13th chapter. Beta thought about it and understood what Yun meant, but said that in all this time he had not seen anything close to a treasure. He said that he doesn't really know what they look like, but according to the instructor, the treasures are hidden in this forest. They will be quite difficult to find. Shell looked at Yun with a smile and said that the redhead was now in charge of them, and she also realized that the treasure hunt was testing their insight. Delano interrupted the conversation by raising his finger up and asked if it was a treasure. Everyone looked around and looked at him in bewilderment. Yun would have answered him if he understood what he was talking about. Delano reminded the guy of their conversation at the very beginning, where Yun was interested in why he was not himself. And even then the guy noticed that something was constantly flying around them. He couldn't see it, because it was moving too fast. While he was sitting in the shelter during the battle with the dinosaurs, he tried to knock it down, but it constantly dodged. This something continued to fly around them, and since it was harmless, he thought it was just a bug and stopped paying attention to it. And now he realized that a similar bug was also flying around the other team. Yun was interested in this, saying that in fact it seems to be true, because the treasure can be the size of a beetle. While the guys were talking, Shell started listening and noticed something flying around them. Yun looked at the girl, asking if she saw the treasure, to which the girl replied that she did not see, because if an elf could not catch him, then she even more so. The main character turned his attention to Beta, but then decided that since Delano couldn't get it with his arrows, then this guy certainly wouldn't do anything. Delano asked Yun if he could bang them again, but the guy said that there were restrictions on the number of times he could use it. If it were otherwise, then he buffed them all at the very beginning. Beta suggested just waving the weapon in all directions. I think it will work. They did not stop him. Shell decided that swinging a sword in all directions was a bad idea. June agreed with this, and then asked if Sarah's skill was related to perception, because her behavior was strange. First she said she could detect monsters, and now she says she feels something flying around them. But most importantly, during the fight with the dinosaur, she told Delano to switch places with Beta so that he could hit the monster right in the eye, although they had not prepared such an attack plan in advance. The girl said that the guy was observant, since he noticed this, but decided that he was watching everything too hard. Yun replied that he was just not the best fighter, so he was trying to be useful by watching the others. Then he noticed the fact that if the girl had a fighting skill, she would probably have already used it, but he heard her asking Beta how he activates his skill, paying attention to the fact that she asked how he does it, and not what he needs to do to activate the skill, thinking that either the girl does not have the skill at all, or it works passively. The guy took into account the fact that she had such a high level and decided his second guess was more likely. The girl smiled and said that he was able to calculate a lot, because by elimination, only the skills related to perception remain, and said that he was partly right, but she was wondering why he was asking this. The guy handed her a flask and asked her to drink it, saying that it was a reward from his previous quest, a potion that would strengthen her feelings. He thought about giving it to Delano, but decided, since he confessed that his arrows were useless in catching a flying object, instead of getting caught seeing the treasure, they would try to figure out in which direction it was moving. The guy said that if the girl drinks this potion, then her senses will sharpen and she will be able to foresee in which direction this bug is moving. The girl smiled again, took the potion and said that she was quite accurate and won't miss even on such a small target, then drank it. The girl asked the elf to make an arrow attack like last time during the battle, asking not to hurt her. The guys only had a couple of minutes left, it was their last chance. The girl got down to business and began to look around, using her strength. During this, something hit Beta's head. The girl hit the object with her hand and threw it towards Yun. The guy caught it, surprised that the girl would be able to hit such a small object with her hand, but she was very accurate. Beta complained that something flew into the back of his head. Time ran out, the guys were inside the building. Someone's voice announced the end of the first test and congratulated those who were able to pass it. 14th chapter. The voice congratulated me on passing the first test. Beta was surprised that they passed. Delano looked around and thought that about 8 teams had passed, saying that it was difficult. June thanked Sarah, saying they couldn't have done it without her. At this time, Delano found Ribe, who was with some guy. Sarah told Yun that he was extremely resourceful, and admitted that she initially thought that the guy would only get in the way, because he was a first-class level. Yun replied that coming up with tactics is his hallmark, and thanked her for listening to him during the test. Ribe did not expect to see the guys here, noticing that their team was without rated players. The girl said that they coped with the test in 20 minutes, and after that she had to endure the chatter of that guy. Beta was surprised and said that the girl was on the team with Simon. A man came into the room and began to congratulate all the adventurers who managed to pass on from the bottom of his heart. He wished them good luck in the next test and introduced himself as the captain of the Knights of the Arcana, one of the 7 knights of the kingdom named Leonhardt. His skill was marking effect. All the guys paid attention to the man. Ribe sneezed at that moment. Leonhardt announced that the second test would be single. He was interrupted by a girl who said that the players would take part in one-on-one battles with a randomly selected opponent. The man went on to say that the players can set their match conditions to the opponent. There should be only one winner, and in case of a draw, both players lose. Leonhardt went on to say that the conditions of the duel could be anything. Arm wrestling, rock, paper, scissors. Also, if the players want, they can fight, but if the established rules are violated, they will be disqualified. Yun said he seemed to know what to do. The man announced the beginning of the test. The main character said that there was no time to explain, but he said to forget everything else. The main thing to remember is that in no case should you betray others. Yun found himself in an empty room. Opposite him stood Simon, who began to approach the guy. The guys recognized each other. Simon asked what they would compete in and offered to just fight. Yun offered to conduct everything peacefully and refused to duel, because during the previous test he was just lucky with the team. Simon decided that this was some kind of trick and said that he would not fall for it. He thought that Yun decided to get him out of himself, so that he attacked him before the start of the match, and was disqualified for it. Yun said that this was not the case at all and suggested an intellectual match. The conditions of the match were to ask each other 10 questions in turn. The one who gives the most correct answers won. The guy said that it sounds pretty simple and decided to start by saying that his name is Simon. Ask what the name of the main character is. Yun did not have time to answer, when suddenly a table and chairs fell to the floor. A robot appeared, which announced an intellectual battle, telling the guys to sit down at the table. The robot said that he was the judge here, and if a question was asked, the answer to which he himself did not know, the score would fall to the opponent. The player with the most points wins. Simon starts first. The guy said that he was a member of the Silver Crow Guild and asked what the full name of its leader was. Yoon replied that he did not know the answer to this question. After that, Simon earned a ball. It was Yoon's turn. The guy asked what he had for lunch yesterday. Simon shouted in confusion that he did not know. The robot also replied that he did not know the answer to this question. And if he did not know the answer to the question, then the ball goes to the opponent, calling Yoon an idiot, and began to guess what the guy had for lunch. Simon thought about it and decided that the guy was trying to play dirty, so in the next question he asked his name. To which Yoon also replied that he did not know the correct answer. Simon didn't understand why the guy was doing this, because he had to know the right answer. Obviously he gave wrong answers on purpose. The next move was Yoon. He asked where the Demon King was. Simon thought about it and replied in confusion that he didn't know it yet. He was on a search, so he assumed that the Demon King was at home. Yoon earned 1 point. Simon thought that since he didn't get the ball, then this teardrop-shaped robot knows where the Demon King is. Next, the guy said that besides killing the Demon King, is there any other way to pass this game? Hume said that there is, to which the robot replied the answer is incorrect. The guy never decided why he was taking part in all this, but he knew for sure that by asking questions he would be able to get as much information about this world as possible. 15th chapter. Yoon's goal was to get information and pass this test, because if anything, he will be able to try to pass the test again. The main thing is that the robot does not understand what he is up to. It was Yoon's turn. He did not have time to ask a question as suddenly the floor disappeared. He began to fall. He decided that apparently he had learned too much. The guy was caught by some monster, posing as Pride, one of the network of mortal sins, and saying that he was violating the order. Then asked which Knight of Light brought him here, and if he did not answer, he would tear him to shreds starting from his feet. The guy began to remember the captain of the Knights of the Arcana, Leonhardt. After that, the guy told the monster that he did not order him and offered to postpone the conversation for another time. Then the monster repeated that he would start with his legs and with one movement of his paw tore off part of his leg, saying that the guy would now give his life, because he made this choice himself. After that, the guy opened his eyes. He was in a completely different place. There was no monster. Leonhardt was standing in front of him. The knight said that the trials of adventurers had been passed. The guy had done a good job, and the others would also finish soon. He needed to wait. He helped the guy up and said that if the guy feels pain, it will pass soon. After a while, Delano appeared and joyfully went to the main character, saying that he did not know what to do until he remembered the advice of Yoon, who saved him. Yoon replied that this was the essence of the test. I remember about 4 words. He said that the first test tested their strength, wisdom and insight, so there was only one loyalty left, and he decided that if he remained loyal, he would pass the test. He was even more convinced of this when the instructors said that the briefing was not so important. In his case, he shouldn't have been in such a hurry, considering what kind of game they were playing. But fortunately he understood everything correctly. Then the knight asked everyone to gather and said that only 9 people had passed the test. The guys had done a great job. He was waiting for stories about their adventures and said that now the kingdom will always protect them. At this time, the Silver Crow Guild was fighting with some kind of monster. A man was lying under him, and his saliva was dripping on his face. The monster was defeated, and the girl informed the man that if he swallowed the monster's saliva, he would be poisoned, and asked him to be careful because they are running out of potions. At least try not to get poisoned because there are not enough greens for everyone. The guy thanked me. I told her that it was difficult, to which the girl replied that it was normal to be in support of the tank, and then said that if Simon were with them, it would be easier, and it wouldn't take so much time. They were delayed and now they don't have much time. At least they also had a strong guild. It was starting to get boring. It was difficult for them to kill such a huge number of monsters that sent them a kingdom. The girl asked if the monsters were NPCs. The man replied that each NPC has its own special skill and once again thanked the girl for her help, saying that they need to somehow cope with the numerical superiority of the monsters. 16th chapter. The guys woke up in the morning. The most recent was Yoon. The guy felt very tired. Beta approached him and asked how he was feeling, then told him to wash up, because everyone was already having breakfast downstairs. He slept the longest, and Ribe was the first to get up. Beta told him, Ribe's words, that they should meet her at the entrance to the guild closer to 2 o'clock. Yoon had a very bad headache. Yoon went downstairs, where everyone was celebrating the passing of the test, because there were new adventurers in the ranks of their guild, so they decided to get drunk enough and fill their bellies. There were a lot of different goodies on the tables. Beta was very happy, and he said that they all looked depressed against his background, and he also asked him what kind of attempt it was. Beta replied that the attempt was the 3rd, but the tests were different each time, so it did not give him any advantages. Delano joyfully approached Riberia and said that everything went well. The girl replied that they had not participated in vain and, turning to Simon, said that he had not helped her much. Simon said she could take care of herself perfectly well. Delano tensed up and asked since when the guy behaves as if he has known Riberia for 100 years and told him to learn manners, because he collapsed at the table and took up all the space. The guys started to quarrel. Sarah offered to go to another table, otherwise it became noisy. Yun stopped Sarah and asked if she wanted to join their party. The girl replied that she was already in the party. Simon carefully cut off a piece of steak with a knife, then pricked it on a fork, brought it to his mouth, ate it and washed it down. After he put the mug on the table, he noticed that everyone was looking at him, asking why they were staring at him. Delano replied that he was preparing to refuse him, because he thought that he would want to go to a party to Riberia. Simon indignantly said that he was already in the party and he didn't need it. Yun turned to Beta and said he wanted to ask him something. Leonhardt came up to their table and turned to Simon, saying that he was very surprised when he found out that he would take part in the competition, because he had to fight the army of greed together with his own. Simon said he asked them to wait until he got back, but his guys are pretty wayward. Yun asked about greed and mentioned pride. Leonhardt said that pride and greed are the demons they fight. The guy said that since there are them, there must be anger, lust, laziness and others. The knight laughed and said that the guy knows a lot, so you don't have to share knowledge with him. A girl came up to the table and said that for the first time in the entire existence of the Adventurers Guild, someone of Yuna's level joined it, said that he was lucky. The guy said that he found out a couple of things that he shouldn't have known about, Leonhardt told him, but in fact he is a weak player, and he knows it. Leonhardt informed the guy that he had his eye on him. The next morning, Yun stood in the bathroom and brushed his teeth. He thought that such a strong hangover should be expected, given how much he had drunk yesterday. The guy went downstairs where the guys were sitting at the table. Simon asked where Miss Riberia was, and was told that she apparently got up before them, because she was always busy with something. Delano asked him why he needed another party, because he had to worry about his own, and instead he was sitting here with them and eating. Simon replied that it didn't matter if he was in a hurry or not, he always needed to have breakfast and asked him not to be impertinent. Yun asked why Ribe always gets up before everyone else and hangs out late somewhere, thinking that she is not just swinging. He said they should talk to her. Suddenly she is fooling people again. Delano replied that she wasn't doing it anymore. Beta assumed that she was just doing quests, but decided that this was nonsense and said that he would be glad to get to know her better, because she traveled from city to city and did the most difficult quests. Delano told Yun that while he was rocking, Ribe was also not sitting idly by and invited him to see everything for himself. The guys went outside and standing near the tree saw Ribe standing with Simon. Delano was shocked because he thought that he had already left. He could not believe that he could have something with Ribe. Yun reassured him that they were just chatting, and Simon was already leaving. Delano offered to follow them, and the guy started surveillance. Simon left, and the girl began the quest. She helped the girl cope with the wolf, then took him to his father. She sold olives and apples, carried weapons, and all this time the guys followed her and hid in every possible way. People noticed them several times. As they looked suspicious, they were chased away in every possible way and chased after them. The guys were very exhausted because of this. After some time they decided to have a snack. Delano asked Yun if he finally understood what Ribe was really doing. Yun indignantly said that she did not let them rest. Beta also said that he was very tired and hungry, because the girl does not stop at all. Delano told him that he had eaten 5 kebabs, to which Beta replied that 5 kebabs from street eateries were not enough for him. Then Delano abruptly and unexpectedly ran towards Ribe, shouting her name. 17th chapter. Yun sighs with sadness, listening to the conversations of his comrades. Delano kept trying to feed Ribe, offering her various goodies, but the girl did not agree, saying that she was busy. Beta turns to Yun and says that he could already have lunch with friends too. Delano was offering Riba a huge kebab. The girl did not understand how he knew her habits and did he really follow her. Here Yun comes to the rescue. The hero says that they just wondered where the girl had been missing all this time, so they decided to follow her a little. He also adds that he is very glad that the girl does not walk and does not fool other people's heads. Only now he did not fully understand all of Ribe's intentions. It is unclear why, but she is clearly saving money. She probably also started playing to earn extra money, but what will she do when she accumulates money? Ribe is overcome with rage, but soon these two are stopped by Delano, who asks them not to quarrel and calm down. Beta also intervenes to calm them down, but he is distracted by the thought of food. The best of all is rice cakes on bean flour. Yun assumes that he is talking about the Korean tortilla titok. After a while, Beta and Yun sit and eat titok. Suddenly, the young man begins to ask the hero about their relationship with Ribe. They are not the worst enemies and not the best friends. But then why is the hero constantly fighting with her? The fact is that the group should have been out of the forest for a long time, and the girl is still picking berries. Yun remembers a moment from the past when Ribe was crying. She needs money to protect someone dear to her. Yun thinks that whatever problems there are, they will be solved immediately when you pass this game, because life here is an empty word. After a while, Beta filed an application with the guild so that his group could receive assignments. He shows the guys the SS level quest. Yun immediately asked him to remove this quest, as it is very difficult for their group. Delano pulls out another quest, which says that there has been no news from the deserted city for a long time, so you need to find the mayor of the city there and return the royal symbol. Yun understands that the difficulty of this quest is suitable for their group, but it will not be easy to complete it because of the long distance to go. Delano asks Ribe's opinion, and the girl says that she likes this quest. Yun is surprised because Ribe herself supported him, but the girl again began to be rude to the young man, saying that he should not think that she, like a child, would argue with him in everything and that she did not care about the hero